Welcome back. On today's Dungeon Design Drive-By, we take a look at a one-shot that I like to call TMDs, Towers of Mass Destruction. I'm Mark William, and you're watching Drive-By DND. All right, first off, two important things to get this thing going and just right to the table. Number one, there's a dwarf race and an elf race. You can choose who they are or what they're doing, but basically there's a Cold War type of situation going on between them. So that's number one. And number two is that basically there's a local war chief, an orc war chief, who's building this tribe, and they've been recently building these crazy magical towers that are obviously beyond what orcs could normally do. So back to the Cold War idea, the dwarves are going to tell the players that basically they need them to go, this is their mission, they need to go, disable the tower, and find some clue or evidence that the elves are actually involved. Again, you could choose wood elves, you could choose drow, you could choose moon elves, you could choose sun elves, whichever elves you like, but just playing off of that trope, you know, the elf-dwarf grudge. It's not a real war, but basically the elves are using these orcs, giving them powerful weapons to disrupt the operations with the dwarf, you know, Black Ops style. Similarly, the dwarves have called upon you. They can't go and deal with it because then that could cause political problems between them and the elves. Okay, where this goes from there, I don't know, but that's how I start. Just that's it. Those are the ideas. That's what's happening. So the players then will come to this area. You know, I would give them some dwarf escorts. They go through the tunnels and they're going to get to a little safe cave. And at this point, the players will have opportunity to ask the dwarves sort of more about what I just explained. Well, what is this tower? What do you know about it? And the dwarf would tell them, the dwarf guards would be like, well, we know it shoots magic missile, a certain spell, or we know that the goblins they're cutting down all the trees to make space to improve their view of the landscape. There is a drummer who is like a warning drummer who will call an orc patrol back to the camp and the tower at certain times if it's under threat. And basically, the scene they see before them is when the orc patrol is gone. The war chief actually leads the orc patrol, so he's not there. So any kind of information you want to give them about the scenario, and you can choose what's here and what's not here. This is just my ideas. Give them that little bit of time to get the lay of the land, to strategize. This is sort of a stealth operation, as they're going to find out. Basically, they have to be stealthy, or this tower is going to fire, and it could be terrible, terrible news. So at this point, players, after they kind of get that foreknowledge and the background of the situation, and that's when I'd even be coming up with like random things. Well, who are the elves? Which types are they? Like, I'm leaving that all up in the open that I'd have to just be ready for. Well, it's King so-and-so, and here they're doing this, and there's all this history, but I would make that up in the moment. However, they're going to leave their cave, and the first thing they are going to see are the goblins. It is almost like this is kind of encounter one. They need to be stealthy. They need to make a choice of whether to engage the goblins or...
I've also created this little side path.
Again, maybe the dwarf tells them there's a little back doorway that could be easier to get through. He doesn't know though, right? Or perhaps the player has a good perception check and can find this little route that might be easier than going across. Obviously the bridge is on the far side. I've done that for a reason, so that it is the harder way for the players to actually get across and get to the tower. So this is a little sneakier way that I like to include to give the players options. However, again, the goblins, they're cutting down the trees. Anything that blocks their view is going to disrupt their tactical advantage of this position. So again, at this players, like for example, might just try and sneak up on the goblins and get by them. So at this point, I would have them make a roll. And I would have almost a board DC for this, and let's just put it at DC 15. So I'm gonna ask my cameraman, Van the cameraman, to roll a couple dice just to see if players did decide to stealth. I would have them make a stealth roll after every move. So stealth is important in this one. So let's just, for example, say the sorceress is gonna stealth, maybe even by the goblins. Crit one! Fail! Okay, so we'll find out what happens to her. Next one will be the fighter.
The fighter's also just saying, like, forget the goblins, move on. We're gonna try this back way we see.
So roll it up, Vanny. Okay, if I give her a +3, 15. Just barely makes it. Okay, and then the last one, the halfling. Let's just say she's trying to stealth maybe a separate way. Maybe the group is trying to go different ways. She's gonna actually try and take out the drummer, and let's see what she does. Because they've been warned that the tower is terrible. Woo, an 18, 15. I just give them all +3 just for now. And so she might be hidden. So at this point, the tower, the magical properties of it, it senses and literally just hones in on anyone who, I guess, leaves a tremor on the ground, anything like that. So at this point, the tower would fire. And again, magic missile, level 1. So I'll talk about this little mechanic later. Magic missile level 1. The other 2 are hidden. And for the sorceress, it would be, let's roll initiative. The goblins would then notice. Bugbears would notice. This drummer would start drumming and call the patrol back. It's basically like...
That last step was a doozy.
And pretty much the gig is up and it's going to be a crazy fight at that point. However, I might not include the other players if they have hidden. They can go as long as they can go, but they'd be making stealth checks for whatever actions they were trying to do, or they might choose to join the combat. So that's essentially how this works. And I added this little crank here too, back to this little mechanism. It would fire every round, and then the next round, it would become Magic Missile level 2. And again, targeting anyone who's in combat, I chose Magic Missile as the spell that this tower has within it because it does just automatically hit, and it has 3 darts that can be spread between all the players, so it's not just one player if they're all revealed. I would roll a d6, 1, 2 for one character, 3, 4 for another character, 5, 6 for another character, depending on how many players you have. And then it's like each dart would hit randomly, so that even as the DM, I don't know who's gonna maybe get totally damaged by this, but every shot, the spell, this little reminder, and the players can see it, I really like it, and then bam, like it's level 4 now. So if they've been fighting with the goblins, and those fights have been going on, this thing's shooting them every round. It's just firing. So you can see that this could be deadly based on where the players find themselves and how well they stealth through this situation. So players will decide what they want to do. Will they go for the bridge? Will they maybe try and take out the drummer? Will they attack the goblins? Will they go for the back route and get successful? Who knows? Just a few different little scenarios or things I thought of is that at some point, the players should get some clue. Say they do go down this side path here. I would have at some point, again, there is a figure, a cloaked figure, who they'll find out is like a high elf who's just not wearing the particular clothes that the high elf race normally wears, and he's trying to get away on his boat, and he has been basically like he's an ambassador teaching these orcs and bugbears how to use this powerful tower without being seen. But I would include a couple guards with the actual regalia of the kingdom they're from. So the players might have an opportunity to apprehend this person as proof, get more information from him, steal some of the clothes, the armor, charm them, who knows. But this is kind of at some point, if they never went this way, maybe this person, they do find him here. So you'd have to make those little adjustments, but he's gonna try and run away. He doesn't want to be caught. This is all like, Black Ops type of situation going on here. So that's what would happen if they kind of go that way. Again, if they are caught in any type of fight or the tower fires on them, the drummer is going to drum. And that's when the orc chief comes back on the patrol. And I would roll before.
Oh, in 1 round.
In 1 round, the patrol's coming back. So again, the minute combat happens, all these little triggers are going to start happening. The tower's going to be increasing in power and firing on them. The drummer's going to drum, get the patrol coming back to them, all the bugbears, and everyone's going to start mobilizing basically. And So the stealthier the party can be, the better. And just as I'm explaining this, well, whoa, this seems tough. Like, one failed stealth check and everyone's under fire. However, I would say that this is where the players surprise you. And something like this where it's like, this is what it is very important. You just lay it down. This is what it is. With maybe the little secret that they do find some evidence of the elves. Other than that, this is a perfect board for me where players can, use cool spells. Hypnotic Pattern, for example, or Fog Cloud. How about Conjure Animals? The animals go out first and just hassle all the goblins, and the tower shoots on them and they get an idea of how the tower works. Or perhaps invisibility spells would be like insanely powerful in this. Or Dimension Door. I've had that one mess me up so many times where the player, again, that sorceress, whoa, there she is. Oh, I cast Dimension Door and now I'm here. Let's just say, and what's this? Oh, that's the control for the tower. So perhaps at this point, she can in some way get to the control and start using the tower against the orcs or the patrol that's coming in. So again, this is the setup scenario, but there's so many different ways that you could take it and be open to whatever the players do. So for example, if they take too long and they never go this way, well, they might not find the ambassador of the elves. They might just not find him, but they might find a scrawled note in the tower or some sort of evidence. Again, I'd make that up on the spot. When I came up with this, it's like, I don't even know. So that's why I like it. It's like, I'm just kind of open to this idea, this political intrigue, Black Ops theme. I put up some things and then, well, what can the players do? It's like, surprise me.
Or get destroyed, basically, right?
So this could be a really cool, that's what I like to do. So sometimes with terrain, it's like, well, it seems kind of railroady sometimes. It is more like, think less, put things on the table, but whatever the players do is the part that's like, oh, crazy. Like, they can just do anything. Or even like, it's not the high elves, it's Drow dressed up as high elves, and they find that out. Like, you could save that like twist for the end to be whatever you want. Or I even thought like these are bugbears, but it's actually just elves dressed up in costume or some sort of magical spell that makes them even look like they're bugbears, but they're not. So you could have all that type of creative liberty with this as it's going. And I think that's what makes this kind of really cool. And again, like, you could even change the spell in the tower, right? Like, maybe it's casting Fireball, or maybe it's casting Witch Bolt, or other crazy spells depending on the party, depending on a lot of different factors, right? And I like magic. I think I mentioned I like Magic Missile because it does automatically hit. It's not too powerful, but I've also given it the variable power that it does get more powerful. You could use any die, a d6. Who knows at how powerful the Magic Missile is cast. And again, like, I always like, Shield is a great reaction spell, and it blocks. It gives them +5 AC, and it blocks all Magic Missile attacks. And so I try and think about that. Like, if you have someone with Shield, this is the perfect thing where it actually does what, like, it actually is so powerful in this case. Oh, it is Magic Missile, and Shield blocks all Magic Missile attacks. So all that tactical stuff can be thrown in here, and it's just open to whatever happens. Again, even like, I like having water here. Anything to do with water spells. Some of those underused spells, I think, would have applicability in this scenario and would almost be maybe the only way to really get by without killing, unless you have a really good rogue who has super high stealth and is just crushes it. He gets behind here, he knifes a few people in the back, they take over the tower, they use the tower against people. All those different things are just on the table for me. So that's it for this one. I hope you can see just all the different moving pieces and all the variety and creativity that you can add to it or take away from it. And that will be it for this one. So thanks for watching. And remember, all D&D, all day long, all night till dawn.